Buddy, the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us to stay curious today. And look, we got our t-shirts on our fundraiser in the house today. How gorgeous do they look? About a couple dozen of you have ordered shirts, and we're going to be putting them together and shipping them out tomorrow to you there, Larry Pusker. So don't you worry, we'll get you covered. I am wearing the Paul Kelly pencil sketch of Neil Armstrong on July 16th, 1969, launch of the moon mission. Over here is son Chris Callie's beautiful painting of the Gemini spacewalk. And here is Paul Callie's epic Power to Go, all right? And these shirts are beautiful. They have on the back, I'm going to turn around here. You see, this says Neil Armstrong suiting up. CallieSpace.com. Let me turn little altar around here to show you there that says Power to Go with the space, our CallieSpaceArt.com logo website on there. There you go, young lady. I'll put you back here in just a minute. And then, of course, this one has got Gemini 4 spacewalk on the back here, and I'll turn that around there. So also have our American Space Museum logo right there. So this one's $22. The color ones are $25 plus shipping. So add $10 of shipping. You know about shipping. It's expensive, but how else are you going to get these? And we're going to start shipping them out tomorrow to y'all. And we're so glad that you're supporting us. And once we get a few of you wearing these around town, wherever you live, we know that more orders will be pouring in as people say, wow, where'd you get that cool Neil Armstrong t-shirt? So there's also a women's size style. This is the women's style over here. It's not V-neck. We'll probably do some V-neck ones later, but they have a wider collar and a shorter sleeve for you ladies there. So aren't they gorgeous? Aren't they beautiful? UCAC Brothers, get your order in here right now. We're ready to fill them up. And yes, we do have 3XL size for some of you people out there. But we are excited to finally get these in the house. And we thank Rob Summers in his business T-Bones Design, and we intend to have Rob on Friday on Stay Curious to share a little bit about his business and what he really thinks this is a great quality shirt, and he went extra effort on the silk screening process to get the best materials he could. You can't believe this Power to Go. You can see Mr. Paul Callie's brush strokes in this launch of the Atlas of the Saturn V rocket. So here are let me get to the shirts there. Oh, we're way off here, Marty. We didn't get our pictures set up exactly right. There's Mr. Goddard. Sorry about that, my fault. We'll get up to our first picture here is, of course, of our t-shirts. And you can hit the order online, take care of everything right there. Just hit that QR code. It'll take you right to the site. But we are so happy to have these in the house and showing them off today. And like I said, I am going to personally get some of the orders together after Stay Curious today, because we know you're all anxious to get them. So please help support us this way. This defrays some of the 3 weeks of income that we lost from our street traffic and merchandising. But also, we want to do this 2 or 3 times a year with Chris Callie and celebrate his artwork and his father's artwork. Mr. Paul Callie was one of 8 original artists allowed on Kennedy Space Center grounds by Mr. James Webb in 1963 for the launch of Gordon Cooper, the last Mercury astronaut to fly. So we wanted to wish a happy birthday, Marty, to this lady, Dee O'Hara. Dee O'Hara was 87 years old yesterday, August 9th. We had a great interview with Mr. Terry White. You're going to want to check that interview out, as he is the manager of the orbital processing facilities, otherwise known as the space shuttle garages. So we're talking about Dee today, a day after her 87th birthday. I know many of you met her at the Space Fest events out in Arizona that have become very popular. She was born in Napa, Idaho, and she was working as an operating room tech in Oregon. She went in the Air Force and ended up at Patrick Air Force Base, and it was just luck that had it that she become the staff nurse for the Mercury astronauts. All right, here's one of the most famous pictures of her you'll see. Her job was to set up the Aeromed lab, the crew sleeping quarters, the exam area for the astronauts, and Hangar S out there at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Hangar S also housed the astronauts as well as the chimpanzees that they were using for test flights and so forth. Astronauts didn't like the smell of the primates that they were rooming with, so to speak. So you know what they did? Marty knows what they did. They bought a Holiday Inn on Cape Canaveral, and it still stands. It's now a Comfort Inn, I think, but there's still some of the structure left there. O'Hara gained the confidence of the astronauts. They thought the thinking was George Knapp, the center commander for Patrick Air Force Base, wanted to have a nurse in the Mercury program instead of a flight surgeon, because the flight surgeon could ground you like that, and the nurse could identify problems that they were having not feeling well. However, I'm told that when these Mercury astronauts saw Dio Harris walking down the hallway, they would duck into an office just in case they sneezed or coughed or something, and she'd be checking them out. The astronauts would not agree to let anyone else but Dio Harris draw their blood before launch. And she worked through the Apollo program after she was involved in Skylab and the first shuttle flight, actually. And she moved to Ames Research Center, where she managed the Human Research Facility until her retirement in 1997. Dee O'Hara is one of these names and people of the history of America's great space program, and she received a lot of fan mail over the years. She has not written an autobiography type of book, but she did help collaborate with another author a little bit about dealing with the astronauts, where she has sworn that she would never write a tell-all book about the astronauts because, well, let's face it, she knew everything about them and had to. So happy birthday to Dee O'Hara, 87 years old. As you all know, we celebrate the shuttles of the month. We have 9 shuttles of August that involve 53 crew members. Okay, 6 women were launched in the month of August, and among the 9 shuttles. We have one launched today that we're going to talk about here in just a minute. That's the one in the middle, STS-105. All right, and STS-105, well, we'll talk about it right now. Let me get my notes on 105. Was Discovery. That's what I have the D for there on my MIM there. Almost a 12-day mission, launched August 10th at 5:10 in the afternoon, Marty. And Marty, my co-producer and Streamlabs engineer, was working on the SSME engines of the shuttle as they launched processing services computer manager. You had Scott Horowitz, the commander, Rick Sturtkow. And Rick Sturtkow, tomorrow's his birthday, so he spent his birthday in 2001 orbiting the Earth. He later became a commander, and Sturtkow is now a pilot for Virgin Galactic and will take paid customers up to space in that space plane that Sir Richard Branson has out there in New Mexico. It was a hard hat mission, but I wanted to get to, I interjected that. There was a hard hat mission to the International Space Station, and we'll talk about that hard hat mission here in just a second, because on August 9th, 1991, Marty, so that is 31 years ago, this gentleman Okay, Mr. Jim Adamson participated in the first email from outer space. Look at that computer that Jim is at. And you can check out Jim, a great interview with Mr. Adamson was March 9th on YouTube. Go check it out. A great guy. He is involved in a lot of behind the scenes of the shuttle era, but he flew twice. This mission, STS-43, Shuttle of August, and then he flew a Department of Defense mission, STS before that. Well, 28, yeah, both of his flights are in August, and STS-28 was a top secret Department of Defense missions that he was on aboard Columbia. So here is Jim Adamson sending the first text from space, and this is the patch that they had, the first Macintosh in space. Okay, you got your little controller there. The caduceus is for the I forget what LBNP means, Marty. It had something to do with the computer in the medical community. Well, I'll have to ask Jim about that. But here was the first Jim Adamson and Shannon Lucid to Marcia Ivins at Johnson Space Center on August 9th, 1991, 31 years ago. Hello, Earth. Greetings from the STS-43 crew. This is the first Apple link from space. Having a great time. Wish you were here. Send cryo and RCS! Exclamation point. Hasta la vista, baby. We'll be back. And Jim Adamson got a big kick about that when we showed that on his interview with us on Stay Curious back in March. And again, check that interview out. A great guy. He talks about how the Department of Defense missions, that he was part of one of them, 8 flights in 2 years, helped bring down the Iron Curtain in Germany, and contributed to Ronald Reagan, President Reagan's peace initiatives with Premier Gorbachev of Russia, and the communists changed their tune a little bit and became more of a republic. So, great day in space history for you internet geeks out there. First time that NASA sent a email from space to Houston. Jim Adamson, Shannon Lucid sent it on a Macintosh to Marcia Ivins. Such is history. And now think about all the communication going on between the International Space Station, emails and so forth. Well, this is the launch of Discovery and STS-105 11 years ago on 2001. It was a 5:10 p.m. launch. They landed at Kennedy Space Center 12 days later. And this mission was a crew exchange of the second expedition to go to the International Space Station, and it took up the third expedition. All right, and the third expedition included Frank Culbertson and 2 Russians. And Frank Culbertson this is August, all right, 2001. So what happened in September 2001? Yeah, that's right. America was attacked. The horrible tragedies of the World Trade Tower and the crash in Pennsylvania, and of another of a hijacked plane that was destined for the White House, quite possibly. And you can't forget the other one that hit the Pentagon. All right. Frank Culbertson saw that from space and famously took pictures of the burning towers over New York City. So all this was happening now 11 years ago. And here's the crew. Marty, you have a comment?
Yeah, from Tom Usiak. He says the LBNP stands for lower body negative pressure.
Lower body negative pressure. Okay, thank you. That was on the patch we had back there. Appreciate that, Tom. We've got a couple launches from the Usiak brothers, but they're STS, they're the last 2 of the month on August 30th, so we'll celebrate those with them. Here are the crew. You've got the upper, the 4 in the middle. They stayed on the ship, all right, and they took up the crew on the left came back, including Susan Helms, the first woman to stay on the International Space Station. That was Expedition 2, and on the right is Expedition 3. That's Frank Culbertson in the middle there. Now we're up to Expedition 67. All right, this is exchanging the second expedition for the third. So what did the International Space Station look like 11 years ago, Marty? Glad you asked, sir. There's what it looked like, okay? Not much more than just a core module with some powerful solar panels put on it, all right? And here's how the International Space Station looks today in its full regalia with 8 or 9 modules attached to it. We've got the Japanese Space Agency, JAXA. We have Russia still as a partner. Don't get too excited about Russia pulling out. They've threatened to do that before. 3 Russians up there, an ESA astronaut, Samantha Cristoforetti, and Americans, Jill Lindgren is the commander, with Bob Hines is up there, and Jessica Watkins, the first African-American female to go to space. And she's in the loop to be the first woman to walk on the moon. You better believe it, because she's a woman of color. That could favor her a lot, because NASA has said they want a woman and a man to go to the moon. They want one of them to be a person of color. So there you have it. But my bet is on Jessica Meir to be the first lady on the moon. And we had a lady in here in our gallery, women's gallery, and she thinks it's going to be Jessica Watkins. So we made a little bet there. We'll see who wins. Hopefully, we'll be able to figure out that bet in the next 3 years, hopefully. And of course, we've got a tremendous launch up ahead of us here in a couple weeks of the moon rocket. So we hope all that goes well. Part of our mission here, getting to space, and building this, I mean, look at the difference in 12 years, 11 years. There's what it looked like in 2001, and here it is in 2022, our International Space Station. The crew patches are always fascinating, and this one signifies the up and down, 2 shuttles, the American flag being the exhaust on the one on the top, and the Russian flag colors being the one on the bottom. The crew members, the 4 main crew members under Horowitz and Stutkow's command there. And then you got the crew exchange on the bottom in that gold vector with the circle around it and star. Of course, you all know that that's the astronaut pin that everybody gets when they go to space. And they get the gold one when they go to space, and they get a silver one when they become astronauts. So a very beautiful and simple patch to celebrate STS-105, one of our shuttles of August. Well, Marty, there's been a lot said about, the first object to go to space. Everybody knows that was Sputnik on October 1957. But was it, all right? Or was the first object to go to space a manhole cover? Quite possibly. There's a sewer manhole cover here to me, a hydrogen bomb going off, a photographer who looks to be way too close to that mushroom cloud, Marty. But on this date in space history, all right, on August 10th, 1957, a physicist named Bob Brownlee attempted to contain the blast effects of an atomic explosion from a device placed at the bottom of a 500-foot vertical shaft in Nevada desert. A 4-inch thick steel plate weighing several hundred pounds, like the one right there behind me that says sewer, was placed over the hole. And this blew off as expected in the blast, and in films it was seen to depart the sky at 6 times the escape velocity from Earth. Well, the escape velocity of Earth is 7,000 miles an hour. And by the timing of the micromillimeter frames that this cover only appeared in one frame, they felt that it was going in excess of 50,000 miles an hour, which would have made it leave the Earth and go to space, all right? Did it orbit Earth on August 10th, 2 months before the Sputnik of the Russians did? Nobody knows for sure, all right? And Brownlee, the physicist, never publicly challenged Soviets' claim of having launched the first satellite, but it is a fact that this happened, that the manhole cover was intact when it blew out of the shaft because they could see it with enough velocity to leave the Earth's atmosphere, and definitely probably went up a couple hundred miles and maybe stayed in orbit. They've always wondered if it ever came back down to Earth, and nobody's ever claimed to have found it. A little problem with finding that, Marty, is 70% of the Earth is water, so the odds of it even landing on land are against itself there.
Plus it had no heat shield.
Yeah, but it had no heat shield, exactly. So it would have been a bright meteor coming down, and molten parts of it would have broke up most likely. So interesting little bit of space history to help you all stay curious on this day. But we definitely know that this man could have orbited something around the Earth as early as 1940, quite possibly. This is, of course, Robert Goddard, the father of modern rocketry. There is a Russian equivalent to him that is also Tolsky, who is also thought of as the father of modern rocketry, about the same time they were doing things. But this is really an amazing man. Robert Goddard died August 10th, 1945 at age 62, way too early. He didn't get to see anything orbit the Earth, yet I'm convinced that he could have, had he had the finances to carry on that he needed to. A lot of things were kind of going against Goddard back in the 1920s and 30s. He absolutely launched the first uncrewed rocket that was liquid propelled, all right, with cool liquid hydrogen. He was a recluse. He took a lot of patents about rocketry, but he didn't share lessons learned with others, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. We celebrate him at our Mercury Gallery at Spaceview Park. That is the Max Brewer Bridge in the distance there over the Indian River. There will no doubt be packed with people on August 29th, the morning of, to watch the launch of Artemis. We're just 9 miles where this picture was taken from Kennedy Space Center launch pads. And down at the bottom, here is Robert Goddard's first liquid rocket on his Aunt Effie's farm in Auburn, Massachusetts. On March 16th, 1926, he launched this up for a period of, I think it was 30-some seconds. It went up a couple hundred feet. But he proved that his idea of cold liquid hydrogen flowing like fuel would work. And we celebrate that very picture on a paver out there at Spaceview Park. A speed of 60 miles an hour is what was attained with this rocket, okay? Not sure if there's a film of that, a movie film of that, Marty. It seems like I've seen one of it. So he was off and running on creating rockets in 1926, and by 1936, Robert Goddard had figured out everything. All the fundamental problems of a guided liquid propellant rocket had been figured out by this genius. And there's his first rocket mobile launch truck and dolly there that's got one of his rockets on it. This is out at in New Mexico.
Roswell.
Where?
Roswell.
Yeah, Roswell, New Mexico. Thank you, Marty. And Goddard's flight in 1926 was every bit as significant as the Wright brothers' Kitty Hawk flight of the first powered aircraft in 1903. But when it got out to the public that he had done this and was doing these experiments, he had the support of the college that he went to in New York, and he got the Smithsonian gave him a mere $100,000, which would be like $1 million now, but not much to develop things. And he had the support of Charles Lindbergh. another recluse that saw the potential of this. But nobody really saw the potential of this as rockets are used today, basically as weapons of war, is where the first technology was refined with the Nazis and their V-2 rockets in the World War II. A moment about that in a second. But Goddard was actually made fun of by the New York Times that wrote an editorial that no way will a rocket propulsion system of Goddard's work in the vacuum of space, because you would need an atmosphere for the rocket to work, and then thinking of the fiery flame and all that sort of stuff. But Goddard knew that wasn't the case, and but they actually wrote an editorial criticizing him as being kind of a lunatic, and other papers picked up on it, and he didn't like that. He was embarrassed by it, and he became a recluse and wouldn't talk to the media or anybody, and kind of sad. And like I said, the New York Times printed a retraction on July 21st, 1969, when after Neil and Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landed on the moon. Hey, here's Neil, right there on my shirt. Okay, beautiful. I can hear y'all ordering it right now. So Robert Goddard, Marty and I love him. We love every opportunity to talk about him. He's out at our Spaceview Park. He had a small group of people that did his research with him, but a genius that could have, I convinced, he could have orbited something around the Earth as early as 1940, maybe 1936. Think of how the world would have changed. Here's what he said. It is difficult to say what is impossible, for the dream of yesterday is the hope of today and the reality of tomorrow. Great prophetic words from Dr. Robert Goddard, whose life we celebrate today on the day he died. And he has been immortalized with an American stamp, all right? And that actually shows the rocket launch of an Atlas rocket with a Mercury crude rocket on there. 8 cents for airmail, Marty. Boy, that was a long time ago. Airmail, 8 cents. Do they even call anything airmail anymore? I don't know. But well, let me get my girls back up here, okay? This girl over here, I know you're going to want to order Mr. Paul Calley's Power to Go. Look at that gorgeous shirt there. This shows you the close-up of the fire from the Atlas V rockets, all right? This is a 2-story mural at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center in Huntsville, Alabama, if you've never been there. And then let me bring this doll over here. She's wearing Chris Calley's beautiful painting of Ed White's spacewalk there. And we've got both gentlemen, Chris and his father's signature on these shirts. We got the American Space Museum logo here, and we've got on the back the name of the shirt, Gemini 4 Spacewalk, and CalleySpaceArt.com, where you can see more items that you can buy of Chris Calley and his late father Paul out there. So everybody, built those phone lines down. These are inexpensive shirts. They're very well made with a Next Level is the brand name of them. They're light and very comfortable to wear, all right? And I'm going to have all 3 of them and be wearing them for you. Marty, we have any? Oh, we wanted to say thank you to Ophelia watching us. Not sure we can ship you one of these to France, Ophelia, once we get the shipping is outrageous overseas. But William Whiting, thank you for being a good friend of our museum. And Cynthia Rossi, likewise. Dustin Ferguson's been watching. Humberto Lopez and Christopher Mick. We got Carla Samanos watching. And, of course, we got the Usiak brothers, Mark and Tom, in the Amish country of Pennsylvania there in Lancaster. They'll be here in a couple of weeks for the Artemis launch, and they're going to bring me a shoe fly pie, Marty. I'll bet you can't wait to dig into that. Yeah. And, yeah, that's right. We'll get a shoe fly pie out of them. And Gary Gerald, thank you for watching. He just got off his tractor No, he's still vacationing, but we posted a picture of Gary and his wife were visiting the museum when we opened Monday, and he's a Vidalia onion farmer and peanut farmer, and a great fan of the space of not only Stay Curious but our museum. So, girls, I'll see y'all later. Okay, afterwards. Marty, thank you for a great show. We'll be back and do it all again tomorrow. Until then, I'm Mark Marquette telling you to come see us at our museum and bridge the space between us.